What, you need some new tires? Go to M&M in Cahokia. What, are you trying to plan for your kids' future, your retirement and stuff, to protect your money? Talk to my literal brother, Aaron Bachman. What, you trying to drink some beers or like some other non-alcoholic stuff? Talk to Four Hands. What, you trying to grow some fire weed at home? Talk to Tree 14. What, you trying to protect your business assets? Talk to Chris Sullivan, Powers Insurance.
We're here. This is STL Strangers. Who are you guys?
I'm Heather Compton.
Brian Compton.
What's up?
BC Limited.
BC Limited. Who are you though? Like, tell me some stuff about you.
Do we have enough time for all of that? But we small business that we my husband wanted to start, and I mean, it's just such a long story, but we'll try and narrow it down. But I'm originally from Arizona, and
where at?
Yuma, Arizona.
Okay,
it's like right where California.
Oh, I'm
Mexico.
very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. Very.
Really.
I lived in Prescott, Phoenix,
okay.
Flagstaff.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Do you know about Dateland?
Yes. Dateland shakes are the best.
Date shakes,
so
baby.
See?
Dude, I went, yeah. There's like a trailer and a gas station.
And that's it. That's it.
I remember pulling up there at like 2, 3 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
And it's like straight out of like a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Dude. Bzzz,
yeah.
Like the lights buzzing. This dude came out of nowhere and I was like, and it says, it's like voted like best shake in the world or something. And I was like, no, it says world famous.
Yeah, world famous.
I was like, the guy walked out of like the desert, and I said to him, and I don't know where I was like, the world is a vampire, is what I said to him. And he's like, damn right, brother. And I was like, I think I was scared.
Oh, it's too early for that.
And the dude said, I was like, are the shakes good? He's like, they're fucking world famous, dude. And I was like, okay, I guess I got a shake. And I was like, man, that's a pretty good shake.
Yeah.
I was like, where are these dates coming from? I don't know.
Right. I know, because there's nothing there.
You're
it's
in the
like
middle of the desert.
In the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm super familiar. You're from Arizona.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, yeah. So, I was born and raised there. Brian originally was from California, but that's not where we met. He was here, and we actually were both doing stuff for the same veteran nonprofit. Like, and they kind of directed us to each other. So I actually reached out to him I slid in his DMs.
No, you got it. Yeah.
So when people are like,
get him, dog.
How did you guys meet? And I'm like, oh, Instagram.
Yeah. Are you guys veterans?
No, absolutely not. So, but we support veterans. We support LEO. We, all of that. So
what does LEO mean?
Law enforcement officers. Okay. Yeah. So, so we were, we did some work for that veteran nonprofit, like, basically social media stuff, like tagging them, putting stuff together, content creation, because Brian originally was doing that along with other things, so for a business here, and that's how we met. And so I ended up coming here after long distance dating for a while. And he was a mortgage underwriter. You look at him and you're like, dude, this guy's like a silverback gorilla. Like, how is he a mortgage
Diesel
underwriter?
boy,
right?
Yeah.
He looks like
big,
Mr.
dog.
Incredible, like when he gets in, gets in the. So it was just one of those things where he's incredible writing, just incredible opinion pieces, and I was just telling him, like, you should do this. Like, I was really encouraging him to do it, and so he kind of just started that way, right?
Yep. I have some of you guys' stuff, and I'm going to ask you some questions about some stuff you already asked or said, but. Like, I have some of your stuff. You guys hooked me up, and I really appreciate it with the clothing. It's awesome, right?
Right.
There's there's specific people that wear that stuff, right?
Yes.
You say LEO, and I think about some of this stuff, right? Like, I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
So I ask all these questions. Law enforcement officer. It's constant, right? That there's like problems with that.
Right.
You really want to do this right now?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
No.
Right? I want to know what people think. Like,
okay.
And I don't. Hand to God, like, I don't judge at all. The reason we started doing this is like, man, I want to know what people think. It's easy to like. There's a dude that came on earlier and like today, from Oklahoma. He's got an accent and like people just assume things straight up about him, right? because of his accent and where he's from, and they're like, oh, you're this like Trump-loving racist.
Right.
Right.
Which people think about us. Absolutely.
So talk about that a minute. Like, what do you think people think about you, and like, what do you like? Not even. Who cares what people think about you?
Well,
we could read some recent comments of what people said about.
Just say that then. Yeah. Here, lean in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll just say this then. Here's maybe a better question. Okay. What do you stand for?
Ooh, that's a long one. We have one rule one of the rules in our house is business first, because without the business we have nothing. So that's something we started a long time ago, and that's something we actually adhere to every day.
Teach the kids that.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Business first. Yeah. Well, we want to do this. Great. Business first. Because if we don't do business, then who the fuck's gonna pay for it?
And they kind of get taught that. They were getting taught that briefly in their elementary school that they were going to, which is one of the steps that, they have like, oh, there's the 7 steps. And one of them was first things first. And so it's relative to that, where we're a small business. And when we say small business, it's legitimately him, myself, and then we have a part-time employee that helps us out maybe 8 hours a week. So
we got Josh, who helps me with Josh is our nerd.
He's our graphic designer and then some.
And
but
he also
he's in
does
Texas.
we have these conversations. Used to involve a lot of drinking. We've gotten a lot better about that. Now we do it
Whiskey
sober.
thoughts.
Like I'd get hammered and just go off on a super tangent.
Yeah.
And then send him some pictures that kind of represent part of what my thought process was, and go, here, fucking fix it. And then he'd tell me how stupid it was and how I shouldn't do this because it's too inflammatory and whatever else. And then I would yell at him, and then in a couple of days I would get my design.
Right.
And now we actually have grown-up discussions about it.
So when you have our designs, you put this out as a fuck you, or is it is that
it's genuinely how he feels.
It's every design has meaning to me.
Right.
Every design means something. It's like this shirt I have on today, no piece. It represents one, always be in the fight of something, whatever it is you're doing. Don't unplug yourself from it. I don't take time off, really. I'm always very actively, my brain doesn't shut down at all. For the past month, I haven't been sleeping much. It's been really bad, but now it's slowly starting to get better. I actually slept last night, which was awesome. But
he knew he was coming.
And it's always this, conflict of your history fighting with your present. And
your personal history.
Yeah, and reconciling with your past and maybe things that have happened in your past, and still dealing with all the present stuff. So it works on many levels. If we want to gay it up a little bit, but
war with yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of no peace. You don't know mental peace because you're always restless and you always have this to deal with. You always have things going on. So, it represents a lot to guys that used to do work. By doing work, I mean violent type stuff. Military, law enforcement, whoever, you have that in you. You're never really gonna come to peace with that. To guys that used to live the hard life, thugs, dudes that,
it also,
did dirt, things like that. They also know that, it's once you're there, that's part of you forever. So you never really know that. And it's also this perpetual meaning of moving forward with it and then using it and kind of coming full circle with it all.
We get attacked a lot, and I say we, and when I say we, it's people. It's social media. So people, when they sling something, they don't understand what's really behind it. They just see the facade of what they're angry at. So, I get a lot of the our Facebook page. I run the Facebook page, so I get a lot of the messages and stuff. So toxic masculinity is what we get a lot, a lot. People.
What do you think people mean by that?
It's everything. Because one of our best sellers is "I hate people." That's what the shirt says. I hate people, and it's relative, and it's funny because I go to church and he doesn't. I go to church and it's one of our best sellers, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, there hasn't been one time in your life where somebody has not thought, God, I hate people. Animal abuse. You see some case of some animal being tortured, and what do you think? God, I hate people. You're in Walmart and somebody stops in the middle of the aisle while you're pushing your cart, and you're like, oh God, I hate people. Whatever. This person isn't wearing their mask, or this person is, and so it's really relative to the situation. But a lot of the stuff that we have is very masculine, but it's everything that he does is not to necessarily market to this crowd, to everybody. It's what he feels. It's his thoughts. It's BC Limited. BC stands for him. And as his wife, I support him and I believe in his vision and where we're going. But it's hysterical to me when people are like, oh, toxic masculinity, and I bet you beat your wife. And people say that stuff all the time. And I'm, what? Like, I don't see it as that at all. I wouldn't want him to be any less than what he is. You know, I know how to defend my family, but I absolutely know that I wouldn't have to because he would. You know, it's not just, you know, about beating his chest and like, oh, I can shoot you, or oh, I can take you down physically, or oh, it's not about that. It's also the fact that, you know, if I didn't want to work or I didn't want to do this, he would make sure that I didn't have to. You know, he takes the classic, I am the protector of my family. I am the protector of those I love. I am the protector of that which I care about. And I think people that maybe can't comprehend that are extremely intimidated by it. And so it becomes toxic masculinity.
Maybe they think it means two things. Like I feel that way, right? Like I provide, I protect, I defend, I nurture also, I teach. You know what I mean? I'm that way with my kids. And I think that like some of those things get convoluted. People think that one thing means another, right? That like because you do this, you're some violent, aggressive asshole. And you might be. Sometimes those things go together.
I mean, it's not far from the truth.
Right?
Depending on the situation, I've been known to confront people that are trying to illegally dump in my dumpster.
Yeah.
A guy who took an underage girl back behind our building and tried to basically date rape her back there. Yeah, that was a violent confrontation.
You fuck him up or what?
Almost.
I almost did, but the cops beat me. Well, didn't beat me. Like they got there just as I was pulling the guy out of the car. I had a situation once a while ago where a younger man was harassing an older couple in the parking lot of Walmart, and then pulled a knife on them.
Yeah.
And I happened to be there at that point in time, and I pulled my sidearm.
Yeah.
And we had a little encounter, and he got to limp home. You know. So
what do you carry?
Right now?
Glock 19.
Tight. Right on.
So he's cleared it.
But
for those listening.
Is this, you carry a bunch of different stuff? I have I carry a Springfield 45.
Yeah,
I carry a 9mm generally for day in, day out.
He wanted to stop by the office before we came here because he's like, oh, we're going to the city.
Every time we go to the city, I kind of gear up a little bit.
I want to ask you about that a little bit, right? Like for sure. So I have like whatever. Not like I'm the toughest guy on the block, right? I've seen some stuff.
Depends on what the block is.
What's that?
Depends on the block.
Yeah.
I've done some stuff. I've done a bunch of bad stuff, right? And I've paid consequences for that. On some things, I feel like, man, like for sure, 100%, right? Like I did some stuff, was involved in some things, the way that things were at the time, and maybe still now. Like if I was like a black kid from the city, it probably would be different. Like I would get locked up longer. I think that's facts, right? I think now, like I can handle myself, right? Physically, and I carry a gun because I think like you can't defend against crazy, right? And sometimes I'm like, man, have I become crazy?
Right.
Am I looking? I try to like. There's like I think like two sides of the fence. One is like, dude, mind your own business, and two is like, no, these are like, this is my city, this is my people, these are my country. If you're here, you're my family. Right.
And, well, and there's right and wrong. There's right, wrong, good and bad. And I'm very much the same way. And she hates me for this sometimes. I can't mind my own business.
Yeah.
Like if something is going wrong, I am going to interject myself into that situation.
To a certain degree. You know, here's the thing is that like, we'll use the mask thing as a big, you know.
Right.
Oh my God.
No, I saw some on Instagram. Like there was something at school, right?
Right. So where I went
public school, private school.
Public school.
Yeah.
So you know, with it, that you can't go into the school without wearing a mask past a certain point. Well, they have an area that's closed off and whatever, and that's where you go up and say, "Oh, I'm here to pick up my kid." And I went there and I didn't wear a mask. You know, if I'm going to go into an establishment where it is posted that you have to wear a mask, like it is mandatory and it's posted, I'll wear one. He will not. That's, you know, and he'll still go inside, you know, but I was not confronted. I was not stopped. I wasn't told anything. Nothing was posted. Nothing was posted on the exterior part. Now to go past another area, that's where it is posted. But the area that I went into, it wasn't. And he was walking in to the same area time frame later and was stopped by a staff member and told that he could not come in and get his child without wearing a mask. And it escalated to the point where she was stating that, you know, if he didn't give a specific reason why he was pulling his kid, that they weren't going to let him take his child. And that's absolutely 100% against the law. That's technically kidnapping. But because why? What's the difference between him and myself? I went a week prior and was not stopped and was not questioned, was not harassed, was not told that I couldn't take my child. Same thing. I didn't put a specific reason. They don't need to know what I'm doing. You know, I just said personal. That's all I've got to tell them. It's my child. He goes and it becomes this huge issue. And the funny part, he's like, well, why don't you go get the principal? Have the principal come outside. Let's talk. They wouldn't do it. And they were like, they ended up giving him like the lady a clipboard, made her do it the hard way because he wouldn't wear a mask to her. Well, now she created all this other work and everything else and has to stand in front of him while he's not wearing a mask, which is what her whole problem was. And she could have just left him alone. But instead, she's harassing him. Why? You know, and that's what's crazy, you know, when we get into these things where I think that the way humanity and society is going, too many people would rather pull out their phone and film it than do something about it. And that's where, like what you were saying, am I crazy? Or like, do I not do something? Do I do something? He's going to do something every single time. Like, he is not going to allow it to happen. Me, I gauge everything where I'm like, okay, my kids are with me. What is the, you know, I'm going to make sure that my kids are safe first. That's my priority. But I'm absolutely not going to stand to watch for somebody else to get hurt. But at the same extent, it's all about situational awareness and know what's going on. But are you going to be that person that is going to take out your phone and film it or turn your head and walk away? Or are you going to confront that situation and go, no, this is wrong and I'm not going to allow this to happen?
Do you think some of that stuff is like age? Do you think it's a society? Like I was in Miami not long ago and I saw this dude get knocked out. And I mean, he wasn't big. This big dude rocked him, right? And he's on the ground like whatever. I've seen people get hit and now they're like disabled the rest of their lives, right? No. And people were filming it. And I'm not from there. It's not my city. I don't know these people. I don't know where I'm at. But I walked over and I just like, I held the dude before I touched it, I'm like, hey man, you all right?
Yeah.
You know? And he like stumbled for a minute. He went to get up and I just held him for a second. Like, you're going to hurt yourself if you get up, dude.
Right.
And like people were filming it. I was like, man, this is a human, dude.
Right.
He didn't like look like me. You know what I mean? He didn't he obviously wasn't where I'm from, but I'm like, you're my brother. And that's how I feel.
Right. Well, and I think, I mean, like we were I talked to my child about this a lot. I think that the advancement in social media, you know, while it has its, you know, amazing capabilities and all the things that it's done and progressed us, I think it's also, you take social media with media in general, and it's just desensitization to everything, you know? We didn't have, you know, Instagram and all of that when we were growing up, you know what I mean?
How old are you guys?
I'm 44, just turned 44.
46.
Oh.
So you had to make that connection with people. You know what I mean? You had to. And it wasn't like when you had friends, you either had to write a note. You couldn't text them. Like, you had to write a note. And there was the physical aspect of like doing the work and writing the note and passing it and hoping your teacher didn't catch it, whatever. And then going over, if you wanted to hang out, like you had to hang out. And now everything's done through DM and video chat. Like, my daughter is 10 and video chats with her friends.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hanging out. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know, that they don't get outside and play anymore. They don't. So I think that there's this separation from reality. And that's why I think that, you know, people are so used to, and she sees stuff and tells me like, oh yeah, this, you know, the big thing right now is this trend of like blindfolding somebody and they turn these cards over and it's like, oh, this guy, you know, is calling his wife out for cheating on him and they're telling her that she's going to get this present. And so she's flipping these cards over saying, you know, but now it's a trend. So it's like, I keep telling her, I'm like, this is fake. they're doing this for likes and reactions
Right.
and whatever.
It's all
This
staged.
isn't real. But that's the thing, is that all of these things are staged now.
What do you need, brother? Let me ask. So you said, I want to ask a couple questions, and we don't have like some. We keep these like 30, 40 minutes, right? So we're 20 minutes in.
Okay.
What you said geared up to go into the city, right? What do you think of St. Louis?
It's a
No.
shithole.
Yeah.
It's gross.
In what way?
I think culturally, it's fucking ass backwards. I still can't wrap my mind around the inner city areas that I've been, where like I'll call it like the hardest and thuggish of black guys are standing right next to the fat vegan with blue hair. I grew up around LA.
Mm-hmm.
There, none of that ever happened.
inner
Like,
city,
yeah,
LA.
like Hoover Street and things. So to be around that and look at that, my mind's going, no, this just
You're
doesn't-
saying like, how are these people together? Is what you're saying?
yeah, like how that's like putting a gazelle next to a lion, and the lion going, yeah, but the gazelle has blue hair, so I don't fucking care. I don't like you.
Yeah,
and, it's,
so
and
like-
I'm just kind of going,
When they say like you, meaning you.
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think if people like? What do you? It just seems that you've thought about this a bunch. Like, what do you think people think of you? And the next question is going to be, what do they not know about you?
oh,
Right.
well, people think I'm an asshole,
Yeah.
which in some cases they're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just honest. I am somebody who believes in absolutes, like no, and I don't have to explain myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes people uncomfortable. And I'm perfectly fine with people being uncomfortable. I think a lot of people think I'm, stupid or simple,
Thank you.
and easily provoked.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think through my responses or anything, which, I always find amusing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what else, to be honest with you. I think just generally.
Some dumb meathead because he's very muscular or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. I don't think people understand the intelligence that he has. I've watched it. I've seen it. I've had people tell me that because a lot of people have met me first.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you're so funny and you're so energetic." Blah. And they're like, "Go to meet him." And I almost have to warn people. I'm like, "Look, my husband is not me. Like he's not that guy. Like he's not gonna be like, ha, ha, ha. He's probably gonna say something that's gonna make you uncomfortable because that's what he does. And it's not intentional. It's just who he is. He calls it like it is, and he's not afraid to be who he is. He genuinely is not afraid of that. But I watch people, and it's crazy because, like you were saying earlier, you've done a lot of bad things, and if you had been, if you were black, you probably would have been in more trouble or served more time, right? So you're genuinely calling, not in a bad way, but you're calling that out for what it is, and seeing like, oh well, if you were black, this is what would happen to you. Now I see people, I watch them tense up, and I've had people tell me from my church, they're like, your husband's a really big, scary guy, and I'm like, well, why? Why would you say he's a really big, scary guy? Because physically he's big? But why did you throw in the word scary? Like, yeah, he's a big dude. You know what I mean? But I'm taller than he is. I mean, if you want to say big, I'm 6 foot. Like, does that make me scary? Like, no. But why is he a scary guy? So the generalization of who he is thrown out there just based off his appearance.
Yeah, I get that.
And it happens. And not only that, they're like, well, he says these things. And I'm like, yeah, he does because he believes them. But why does that make him scary? Because he's telling the truth? That to me is hard sometimes where I look at that and go, they're like, oh, well, you guys are racist. I'm like, how are we racist? Like,
I was going to ask that. Do you think that people tie?
Fuck yeah, they do. You
Well,
don't have
you-
to say it. Yes.
Right.
The answer is yes.
so he's
Why do
very
you
food driven. Sorry.
No, it's tight. This is a awesome donut.
I know. We've had it before.
Why do you think? Because I think that just like I'm talking about this dude from Oklahoma,
Right.
People tie his accent to stuff, right? Like, I do think I think racism gets thrown around a ton,
Right.
right? And the
Much
sometimes
more now than
appropriately, a lot more now,
much
right?
more now than in the early 90s when I feel it was much more relevant. I mean, I was sitting in South Central when the
Ronnie
riots
King.
happened.
King. Yeah.
That was racism.
Yeah.
Here it's like, no, you're just uncomfortable. And then there's also the entirely skewed perspective of, equality, equality, equality. Equality at the detriment of what? No, we all have equal opportunity, but that's it. Like, if you say no, you have a cell phone, don't you? Start my business with $5 and a fucking cell phone. Tell me how it's not equal.
Yeah.
You know, so being around those places and having the background that I've had, as I spoke to a guy that follows me the other day, gives me a very unique perspective on racism. And I think it's funny when people call me racist. Cool. Do I have preconceived notions about certain people if you look a certain way? Yes, but that's called stereotyping based upon past life experience, which has many times saved my life. Because I have been in situations where, hey, something's not quite right because that dude's looking at me weird and he's looking over at his buddy, which means that guy's going to walk up behind me and stick a knife in my liver. So, yeah, but it's not racism. Like, because of based entirely upon what someone looks like based upon skin color, I see as being racism. And that's absolutely.
Say that one more time. I just want to make sure I understand it. You're saying based on somebody's skin color,
Yes.
judging them is racism. That's what you just said, yeah?
You're taking, okay, well, you're black or you're Hispanic, you're this. So I don't like you because of that. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's a person. I'm a person.
Right.
What else about that person? Maybe he's an ignorant dick and he hates people for this, or he's been doing this, or he's, you know, and just an asshole. Well, yeah, no, I don't like him because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're saying
not
judging people
there's
like
prejudices, and I
Yeah.
think people take prejudices. You know, like people will look at him and go, "Well, he's a dick." You know, that's you're having a prejudice against him because he's toxic. You know, to you, you're intimidated by this factor. That doesn't make him racist. You know, I think it's come down to all these. I think if you go back to when there was real racism, like real bad stuff. And the people that lived through that then, and you go, okay, now it's just thrown around. Like if you don't support something that this person supports, you're a racist. You know, because I try to stay. We try to stay quiet about political things and things like that, and whatever we support. We try to keep it to a certain point. But because we did a law enforcement shirt, an LEO shirt, supporting, and it's a thin blue line shirt. Oh my gosh. People we got so much hate for that. I mean, we got a lot of support for it too, but people were like, you guys support, cops are killers and they're bad people. And I'm like, why? How many cops do you know? Like, other than what you've seen on the media and what's being blown up and sensationalized, which is the funny part is everybody wants to denounce the media, but the first thing they're going to do is use the media to support their claims. They're like, yeah, well, I read this article. And I'm like, that's the media.
Like fucking gravy with a biscuit. Oh, wait, hold on.
No,
Okay,
dude,
more of
it's
it. And now
funny.
here's what it is.
It's crazy to me, dude. Not crazy. It's fun. I don't know what the word is, but I see like the media say, the media will tell you this, right?
Right.
And I'm like, bro, that's you.
You're the media.
You
right.
are. I guess now, we're doing this. We're the media. But,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying? And
Well, this
and
to
not
me,
like
this
that.
is like not like that. Yeah.
This is people talking.
Right.
And seriously, there's like, I want to know, like, man, what people in our city are thinking. The reason we started this is it seems that there's like 20 people or so, and I end up being one of them, right? That gets interviewed a ton, asked about issues.
Right.
And I was like, man, it seems like a lot of these people have like very similar ways of thinking, right? And I don't like subscribe to some of that. I try to like, I don't know. I doubt people. I love everybody. You know what's crazy to this? I'm like flattered that you guys are here. I was like, here's my interpretation of you, right? Is like, one, I just say this. The amount of diversity of people that like were like, dude, I want to come on your show.
Yeah.
I was so flattered by. I was like, this is awesome. I think, one, that there's like a lot of different ways of thinking in our city, right? A lot of different groups of people, types of people, socioeconomic, like there's like, it's a diverse city in a lot of different ways, right? I also was like, man, it's tight that people feel comfortable for all these different walks. Like there's a dude coming on like another show that's like, I would say the exact opposite of you, right? Oh, yeah. And I have no more love for him than I have for you, right? I was like, man, this is. Here's my assumption, right? Like, pro Trump, pro gun, pro. Fuck you up, you know what I mean? And then some of it is because like I Like, I saw these people in a parking lot yesterday, and I thought it was you guys. I was like, hey, do you guys own some apparel company? I've never met you personally, right? You're a stranger to me.
Right.
I was like, dude, do I, man, I lost my train of thinking. But, like, I was like, dude, do you got, and it was this lady who was like, she was smaller than the top of the car. So she's probably under, like,
5 something. Yeah.
under 5 foot. She was tiny. And the dude was big, and they looked at me crazy. And I was like a powerlifting apparel company? So, and they were like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I was like, I know you. And they were like, dude, get away from me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just an awkward exchange. Right. I just say what I think to people, right? And I think sometimes I'm taking like flirtatious or confrontational or whatever. Sometimes it's like, man, am I speaking English? Something happened yesterday.
You were talking about like the assumptions of people and what you thought of us and having the difference of people on there. And I think that's that's why I reached it when I saw you doing this. Mm-hmm. That's something that I've always liked about you, right? And everything else. And plus I think we know some of the same people, and those people, you know. Oh,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Same 20 people. That's what I was saying. And I'm like, man, here's this like homogenous way of thinking that I was like, that doesn't represent all of who we are.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And there's stuff, of course, that's like dirty and like bad or what, you know what I'm saying? Like that we look at, but I'm like, but that's us.
Right.
You know what I love about St. Louis? I'll say this, dude. You'll get punched in your mouth getting out of line.
Right.
I love that.
Right.
I love that this city will keep you honest.
Yep.
Right? It's a small enough city that.
Where
what?
Where would that?
He wants to go there.
Yeah.
No, the places I've been and stuff, I've seen people do horrific shit and just act out like a bunch of assholes, and everyone is scared to death of anything.
I don't know, man.
But that's the thing, is like that's what we're talking about right now, is I think that the different views on what
this
we're
is my
seeing.
view.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna say the same. This is my feeling about my city, right? Is that like it'll keep you honest. Same time, dude. I think I've experienced this personally. Right. How many people come out to help? You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that like I've thought about this. I was like, this doesn't happen anymore, and I think I said this on another show. Like, there's like these different factions, right? And like people are, you know, argue, and I think a lot of that is like other people telling us how to think, right?
Right.
And if you buy into that shit, I think you're lost. And I think that if you subscribe to one way of thinking or follow one party or one person, I'm like, you're lost.
You know what I think is really cool? I think that for you and I, right?
Right.
And I'm going to exclude him from this because I know this. Like, and this is what he loves about me, though. I'll tell you that, is that we have this, you and I, and this is what I love, is that we have this connection with all kinds of different people, right? Even though we have our own thoughts and our own opinions, I'll look at somebody else and go, okay, like I have 2 friends, one's in LA and one's here, and both of them couldn't be any further from where I'm at, you know. One's a huge pothead, and, you know, which is not my thing, cool, whatever. And the other one is very, I don't want to say into the race thing, you know what I mean? Like, but very, and I don't even want to say this, but it's in this very, very BLM anti-LEO, anti-law enforcement, just very much. And I understand why. And some of the things that they put out there, I don't agree with, because it encourages violence, it incites ugliness, and I'm not okay with that. I don't put anything like that out. But they don't necessarily agree with what I think, you know, like I'm not going to get a vaccine, and I don't believe that people should wear masks, but I don't necessarily do, you know, I don't come out with that. But I don't look down on what they believe, you know what I mean? Sometimes I don't agree with it, but I still love them who they are, because I'm like, dude, they're so passionate about this because of this, you know what I mean? And I respect that. So while I don't like what some people have to say, if they're going to stand by it and they believe it wholeheartedly, and that's all they push, not just one day because it's a popular freaking hashtag. Like, they're going to put this out, you know, justice for whoever one day. And then the next day it's like, oh, look at my Starbucks and look at this and blah, 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 blah. No, if you're that's you. Like, you're all for that. If you're for this and you really mean it, then I respect you for it. I might not agree with your means about it, but you do that every day and that's you. I'll back you on it. You know what I mean? But that's the thing that I think I see with you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. I'm scared to death to come to the inner city. But that's not, it's because I have social anxiety. I don't like being around a lot of people. I don't like I don't like driving. I stay in my bubble, and I'm like, dude, as long as there's a TJ Maxx, a Starbucks, and I'm cool. I go to work. And this is it. That's all I want to do. So I get anxiety when I have to come anywhere into the city because I'm like, oh my God, there's so. But I'm not like, oh my God, we're gonna get robbed. Like that's not it, you know. So again, he has been in situations like not from St. Louis. He's been in situations where like very much gang violence, very much this, very much that. And then he comes into a situation and people look at him and they're very like, immediately looking at him and I watch it happen. So it's kind of fascinating to me to see that, you know what I mean? Where it's like everybody in here goes, oh, well, you know, we're judged and there's prejudices and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, the same thing happens to him.
Do you guys do anything to like check your way of thinking? Right? Like I think that I think a certain way, right? But I like take in, I read articles, I meet with different people.
Challenge your belief system.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
And actually, I am not pro-violence. I'm actually very much detest violence, but I'm comfortable with it.
That's the difference.
That lies the difference. See, I'm not pro-violence at all. I've seen what violence does. I absolutely detest it. It destroys lives, literally. So it's like, I'll do whatever it takes to not. But at the same time, if that is the last tool I have left,
You're not going to shrink from it.
then I'm not opposed to it at all. You know, and I'll be angry at you for forcing me to that.
We have.
Anyways, sorry.
No, keep going with that.
It just in that respect, I love the notion that a lot of people have said that. Oh, you must really like violence. You must really like doing this. No, I don't. I've been, you know, or like a better term, in the business of it since forever. You know, since what I started bouncing at parties when I was 16, being a bouncer at fraternity parties. At 18, I started working in bars. I was what was called a thumper back then. I was the guy that got in the fights. We were in the middle of fights, and you were speaking to one guy that got...
He bounced out Sigourney Weaver from a bar.
Well,
Who said,
face
do you
palmed
know
her and
who
threw
I
her
am?
out. Get the fuck out of my bar. With the guy being knocked out, it made me think of a time just outside of the bar. A guy got knocked out, and 16 fucking bangers out of Oxnard, which is just south of Santa Barbara in California, were kicking this guy's head in. And we're trying to do it to another guy, too. I was able to help save one guy. The other guy, I couldn't. 16 dudes were swarming this guy, kicking his fucking head in. And I was out there by myself while everyone else stood around and fucking watched. I'm trying to pick this one guy up and fight these guys off and try to get him off the other guy at the same time. It's like that's what, when people go pro-violence, I'm absolutely not. I've been there. Like, I've seen what it does. I've seen the ugliness of it. So
I get that.
Absolutely not. Fuck, where was I going on the preconceived notion part? Totally got lost in that. Oh, well.
It's all good. No, I worked at a crack house when I was 14. I've been about as big as I am since I was 14.
Really?
Yeah, but that's what I would, when people ran out of money, I mean, a postman would come by and he would, you know, we would go through his mail. We would take their credit cards and stuff. We would activate that stuff. We would take money out of birthday cards. When he ran out of money, we would start taking his stuff. When he ran out of stuff, you know what I mean? Like people like that, like I threw them out.
That's the business.
Dude, so I try to think now, like, and I hate, like, I understand I can fight, right? I'm comfortable with that. Again, not the toughest guy, whatever.
Right.
But I hate violence, right? And it feels bad to me. Right. I think I see like a lot of like idealistic, and like we'll start wrapping up in just a minute, but I see like what people think they want the world to be, and they speak from there.
Oh, challenging ideologies. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I believe in doing that quite often because I have such strong opinions about things. And I'm not wishy-washy about it. I'm not in a gray area about it. Like, I write all the time. I wrote the other day. The answer is just simply no. Like, I don't explain why. The answer is no. But sometimes I'll be challenged by it, and I'll go through and have the discussions with people and walk all the way through the thought process down to, okay, am I really right in thinking this? Am I really right in believing this? Am I really right in making this decision? Absolutely. I love those discussions.
He's had to, I mean, I think I'm more like you, and I haven't had this experience with like violence like you guys have, but emotionally, I'm a very sensitive person, and I can't watch anything on the news now. Like, I can't watch it because I will legitimately, I will break down. And he's had to stand there while I've had massive sort of anxiety attacks about it, with not being able to attach it to anything, just saying like, I can't handle how ugly people are. Like I can't. And it's so hard for me to watch some of it, knowing like this isn't, what is the cause of this? Like watching people go and destroy small businesses in a city because they don't like something. I don't understand that. And then people justifying it, going, well, they need to be heard. So you're going to destroy somebody's dream that everything that they have. And a lot of these people don't have business insurance, you know, it's all they have. And you've just ripped everything away from them for what? Like that's the kind of stuff that devastates me. And I can't put anything, I can't fathom it. And people are like, well, you got to understand this side. There's so much to it that the media, that we don't know, that the media throws out there, that it's like, I'm not there to judge that. I don't see two wrongs making a right, you know, ever. And so that's where sometimes, you know, he'll have his thought on something and then I come in and I'm super emotional about it and he'll hear that side of it and we kind of discuss it and then he's like, yeah, it's still no. You know, like it, but he understands a more emotional aspect to it than the cold shut off part of it.
Let me ask you this. What do you guys, so you see some wrong in the world, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Are there things that you guys are doing to make it better? Or do you think that it's your responsibility to make it better? Or
You mean starting a brand and speaking to your ideology every couple of days?
whatever, if that's what it is, then say that, yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It was amongst all the things that I've done, I found through working through social media, you can get the attention of people and you can share an opinion that can then be echoed out. You know, where if someone's on the fence about, well, you know, it's a great one that I've spoken to many times. I say, if the king does not rise, the kingdom dies. You know, do you really understand the responsibility of sitting at the head of the table? Do you deserve that position? Do you know what's involved there? You know, because you're sitting at the head of the table, you are the support person for everybody. They're not there for you, you're there for them. You know, and I go through in detail of the various aspects of these ideas, which maybe echoes down to some guys that are in their early 30s, late 20s, that, you know, maybe they have the oops kid or they just had their first baby and they're like, oh, no gender roles, everything's great and everything's good. Oh, fuck, who's in charge? Like, who's driving the boat?
And so you think, you're the king in like the business and the house, where do you see like your role? Like where, you know, like I understand exactly what you're talking about and I try to think that way. When I go places, I'm like, a simple kid saying, you know, if it's got to be, it's up to me.
Right.
Right? Like, the change is here.
We I think a lot of that also.
We got like 2 minutes. Yeah.
Installing it into our kids is also really important. You know, installing.
Do you guys talk about politics to your kids?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and the reason why we do is because they are on social media and they see these things and these hashtags that kids, and we just went through it, 12-year-olds using hashtags, pansexual and, you know, whatever, and that really threw me off because when you're 12 years old, there is no sex. There's no sex. Like, I get that there's, you know, there can be confusion, there can be this and that, but right now, this kind of stuff is popularity. It's a hashtag. And so they want to fit in. And so they don't understand the severity of it. Their brain does not mature until you're 24. So there's so much learning that these kids can have. And that's where I think a lot of this starts. Because we're going to die. You know, they're going to come up next. So what are they going to talk about? What are they going to sit around a table and talk about? You know what I mean? So that's going to be huge. And so we talk to our kids. We're incredibly honest with our kids about everything, about, you know, the bad stuff, about the good stuff, and why people feel the way they do. And my daughter got called a racist in a Roblox chat. And she was like, I got called racist. And she was bawling her eyes out. It hurt her feelings so bad because she knows what that means. We've told her what that word means. And she couldn't understand why somebody would call her that. Because somebody said Trump and she said, yeah. And so they were like, you're a racist. And she was so upset by that. And that's, she's 10. She's 10. And you know, and somebody's calling her a racist. Like, we have to, you know, tell her. I tell her all the time, it's important to love people. It's important to love people. That's the first thing. We've got to love people because that's not, you know, being angry and hating people is not going to fix any of this. And if you're not raising your kids to understand that while they might have a different opinion, you still have to, you don't have to fight about it. You can still say, I love you, even though I don't agree with you. And that's something that I work on our kids all the time about.
Right on. I have one more question, and then you guys say whatever you want in closing. But the, like, do you guys think when you have these strong opinions, are you like, but I'm willing to be wrong?
Absolutely.
Oh, totally.
Right on.
100%. Because you don't learn.
Right. And you then can then investigate it.
If you find me something the contrary, then I'll change my opinion.
Tight. Right on.
Yeah, that's not from like CNN, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Fox, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
how I try to live.
That's not gonna convince me. If you're throwing a link from some news source, you know, I'm gonna go, okay, but why? You know what I mean? Give me some really solid proof here as to why. And that's one thing I think we've always said is like we're open to discussion. Yeah. But the minute you start name calling, we're done.
Right. There's not respect.
There's no intelligence in this anymore.
Right on. I get that. I can talk to you guys for a long time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you guys coming.
Maybe we'll start a podcast and you can bring donuts and come on ours.
I'll come on your podcast for sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude. Anyways.
I love what you're doing. I love that you're doing this.
I appreciate it.
This is awesome.
Is there anything you guys want to say in closing, or you got a question for me or anything?
There's that one meme about podcasts that I've always enjoyed.
No, don't.
What's that? Come on, dude, do it.
Podcasts are this generation's tramp tattoo.
Dude, no, I was like, I was honestly, I was like, man, anybody can have one, right, dude? Maybe, I don't know.
But that's the thing that I like about yours is that, you know, everybody's starting a podcast, but yours is so eclectic, and I love it. Like your donuts, you know what I mean? Like you put out these things, and I'm like, I would never eat that, but that is so rad that you put those together.
I don't give a shit about, like, I think everybody's like in a race to like get like, oh, the most notable person.
Right.
I don't give a shit about you.
I was
and
kind
your
of
popularity.
shocked.
You know what I'm saying?
That, you're like, why don't you come on? I'm like, oh,
yeah. Let me get
okay.
So, anyways, dude, is there anything else you guys want to say?
No, man. I
really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And the so what's your brand?
BC Limited.
BC Limited. It's literally BC.limited. That's all you have to type in, and it'll take.
And
you
that's
there's no .com. It's BC.limited.
BC.limited. Yeah. BC Limited. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
No Twitter.
No Twitter.
Right on.
We don't tweet.